Hello everyone and welcome to my YNR CBS Daily Update channel. Have you ever been sitting in a quiet room and felt like someone was watching you, but when you turned around there was nobody there? Now imagine that feeling, but you're completely blind. You're trapped in your own home, a place that's supposed to be safe, but suddenly every floorboard creak sounds like a threat. Was Nikki Newman's sudden recovery actually a miracle, or was it her mind's last-ditch effort to save her from a psychological breakdown? I want you to really think about that for a second, because what happened this week in Genoa City wasn't just a plot twist. It was a total game changer. Before we dive into the deep end of this drama, if you love dissecting these stories as much as I do, please hit that subscribe button. Leave a like and share this with another fan who needs to hear this breakdown. It really helps the channel out. I'm Jenny, and this is YNR CBS Daily Update. We're going way beyond the surface today to uncover the hidden emotions and the psychology behind every single move these characters make. Let's start with the big one. Nikki Newman is finally back in the light. For weeks we've watched her struggle in the dark after that terrifying medical crisis. But this wasn't just about her losing her eyesight. It was about Nikki losing her power. Think about it. Nikki has always defined herself by being in control. She's the woman who walks into a room and owns it with just a look. When that was taken away, she wasn't just blind, she felt invisible. The sources tell us that she reached a massive breaking point this week, and it was honestly hard to watch. She was sitting on her couch trying to tell herself that this was all just temporary, but then the nightmare started. She heard glass shattering. She called out for Victor, but there was no answer. Can you imagine the panic? She's screaming for help, trying to use voice activation on her phone, and nothing is working. This is the ultimate nightmare for a woman like Nikki. The funny thing is, the terror didn't just come from a possible intruder. It came from the realization of what her life would be like if she stayed this way. She felt dependent. She felt vulnerable in her own home. The sources mentioned she even heard 3 blind mice being played on the piano. Now why that song? It's a taunt, it's a psychological jab at her condition. She even wondered if it was Kane playing a game like they did in Nice, or maybe Matt Clark, or even Patty Williams. She was so desperate that she started throwing her jewelry, telling the intruder to just take it and leave. This tells us everything we need to know about her state of mind. She was ready to trade her wealth just for a sense of safety. When she finally opened the front door and saw Victoria, she was convinced there was someone inside, but Victoria found nothing. Victoria actually rolled her eyes when Nikki said they took her phone, only to find it right there behind a couch cushion. Does that make you feel for Nikki, or does it make you think she's losing her grip on reality? Because honestly, that moment when her phone rang and she heard the piano music again, even though Victoria didn't hear a thing, was chilling. It makes you wonder if her brain was literally hallucinating the sounds as a manifestation of her trauma. But then, just like that, Victor arrives. She wakes up from what he calls a bad dream, and suddenly the foyer comes into focus. She can see his face. Now, some people think this recovery happened way too fast. I agree. I think the story would have been much stronger if Nikki had to live with this disability for a while longer. It would have forced Victor to realize he can't simply command the world to work the way he wants it to. But at the same time, seeing her finally lock eyes with her soulmate was the emotional payoff everyone had been waiting for. But here's the real question. Is she actually healed, or is this just a temporary surge of adrenaline? The sources say she regained her confidence and her freedom in that one instant. But you don't just go through a trauma like that and walk away unscathed. She's now realized how quickly her security can vanish. She can't take her old life for granted anymore. It's a second chance, but it's a heavy one. While Nikki was finding her way out of the shadows, Diane Jenkins was living a completely different kind of nightmare. She had been held captive and drugged, but she finally made her move. She drugged her captor and drove through the night just to get back to Jack. But when she walked through that front door, freedom didn't taste sweet. It tasted like ash. The Abbott mansion was dead silent. No Jack, no welcome home party, just an empty house. Carl was calling out for his dad, but there was nothing. Then the silence broke. Glass shattered somewhere in the house. Can you imagine the dread? You fight for your life to get home, and the second you step inside, you hear the sound of someone or something waiting in the dark. It's such a clever move by the writers. They gave Nikki her sight back just as they plunged Diane into a situation where she was blind to the danger around her. Diane is acting out of this intense, almost desperate loyalty to Jack. Her whole identity is wrapped up in his forgiveness right now. Speaking of Jack, he's been battling for his life after being stabbed by Patty Williams. The drama at the hospital was intense. He actually flatlined at one point, sending everyone into a total panic. But the real shocker is what Patty did next. She didn't just stab him. She tried to frame Diane for the whole thing. She also had leverage over Jack that kept him from telling the full truth. It's classic Patty, always 3 steps ahead of everyone else's sanity. She even tried to poison them with digitalis, but luckily the medical team figured it out in time and gave Diane the counteracting drugs. When Jack and Diane finally reunited in that hospital room, it was incredibly emotional. Jack kept apologizing over and over, but Diane simply told him she forgives him. He promised to spend a lifetime mending her heart. It sounds romantic, doesn't it? But if you look at the psychology of it, Jack is leaning hard into the protector role. He needs to save her to feel like a man again after everything Patty did to him. And Diane is using her vulnerability to make sure she never loses her place in the Abbott family again. It's a beautiful reunion, but it's built on a very shaky foundation of trauma. Do you think they can actually make it work this time, or is the ghost of Patty Williams always going to stand between them? While the Abbotts were dealing with life and death, Billy Abbott was turning into a nuclear reactor. Honestly, Billy is his own worst enemy. He's furious because he found out about Sally's secret deal with Adam. Billy was the one who gave the company to Sally in the first place because he wanted her to succeed on her own. But Sally made a deal behind his back to hand Newman Media right back to the Newmans. Why didn't she tell him? Think about it. Billy has a gambler's brain. Sally knew that if she told him about a sudden windfall of money, he might lose it in an instant. She also knew he would hate the idea of Adam playing the hero for her. But by keeping the secret, Sally basically confirmed Billy's worst fears. Billy believes Adam is trying to buy her loyalty. When Billy confronted Adam, he didn't hold back. He cornered him and demanded to know what game he was playing. The irony is that Adam actually seems to be trying to do the right thing for once. He didn't want to target a pregnant Sally because he felt he had already hurt her enough. Victor, however, doesn't care about pregnancy or feelings. He told Adam and Nick they were going after Spectra Fashions specifically to get to Billy. To Victor, it's all just another game. Victor even pushed Nick aside and put Victoria back in charge of Newman Media while he focused on Nikki. Nick clearly wasn't happy about being treated like a placeholder, and it's hard to blame him. Do you think Victor is really doing this for Nikki, or is he simply using her health as an excuse to put his favorite child back in power? It almost feels like he's creating a civil war between his own children, just to see who comes out on top. And poor Sally is caught right in the middle of it all. I really feel bad for her and the baby. She's trying to navigate these shark-infested waters, but the two men who claim to care about her are using her as a trophy in their endless war. Billy is likely going to blow up his life again because he can't handle the blow to his ego. It's a pattern we've seen countless times, and it never ends well for him. Now let's talk about something a little more positive, or at least it appears that way on the surface. Lily and Kane are growing closer again. Lily has really lowered her guard lately, and a big reason for that is because Kane stepped up and donated bone marrow to save Malcolm. In Lily's eyes, that makes him a hero. They've been working together as business partners, but it's becoming clear that things are getting personal once again. They even shared a romantic evening together, although Lily was quick to set some boundaries the next day. She's smart to be cautious because we all know Kane's history. But take a look at Kane's latest move. He offered a life-changing job to Holden and Malcolm. Holden is the man who saved Malcolm, and now he's drifting without a clear plan for his future. Kane saw an opportunity and immediately offered him a position at Chancellor Winters. On the surface, it looks like a generous gesture, but if you read between the lines, Kane is building his own power base. By bringing Holden into the fold, he's making himself even more indispensable to the family. He's playing the long game. What's even more interesting is that this job offer could end up ruining the romance between Holden and Claire Newman. Did Kane do that intentionally? It's impossible to know for sure, but in Genoa City, nothing ever happens by accident. So here we are. Nikki can see again, but is she blind to Victor's manipulations? Diane is finally home, but is she walking straight into another trap? Billy is on the verge of exploding. Will he drag Sally down with him? I want to hear what you think. Do you believe Nikki's miracle happened too conveniently? And are you Team Billy or Team Adam in this whole Sally Spectra situation? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and stay tuned for more Y&R CBS Daily Update. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one because the drama is only just getting started. Nikki's vision comes back after what seemed like nothing more than a terrifying dream, but the emotional scars remain. For weeks, she had been trapped in total darkness after the shocking diagnosis of a mass on her optic nerve. Yet this story was never just about blindness. It was about identity. Nikki Newman built her entire life on confidence, elegance, and control. Without her sight, she felt as though the shield she had relied on for decades had disappeared. The breaking point came when she sat alone at the ranch, trying to convince herself everything would eventually be okay. Then the nightmare began. She heard glass shattering, called out for Victor, and received no answer. Desperate, she tried using voice activation on her phone, but nothing worked. When she finally reached the front door and saw Victoria, she was convinced an intruder had been inside the house. Victoria found no evidence of anyone there, and even discovered Nikki's missing phone behind the couch cushion. Later, when Nikki heard eerie piano music that Victoria couldn't hear, it became clear just how deeply fear and trauma had affected her mind. Then Victor arrived and assured her she had simply awakened from a terrible dream. In that incredible moment, her vision returned and she could finally see his face again. While many viewers believe the recovery happened too quickly, others see it as the result of overwhelming psychological shock. Either way, Nikki's experience has changed her forever. She now understands how fragile security can be and how quickly life can change. At the same time, Diane Jenkins escaped captivity and raced home to Jack, only to discover an empty Abbott mansion filled with silence and uncertainty. Jack was still recovering after Patty Williams stabbed him and attempted to frame Diane while poisoning them with digitalis. Thankfully, doctors acted quickly, saving Diane's life. Their emotional reunion in the hospital gave them hope, but their relationship still rests on a foundation of pain and trauma. Meanwhile, Billy Abbott exploded with anger after learning about Sally's secret arrangement with Adam Newman. Sally believed she was protecting Billy by keeping the deal hidden, but her silence only strengthened his suspicions. Victor continued manipulating events by targeting Spectra Fashions to strike at Billy while restoring Victoria to power at Newman Media. With family rivalries growing more dangerous every day, Sally remains trapped between two powerful men, determined to win at any cost. As these storylines collide, one question remains. Has Nikki truly recovered, or is this only the beginning of another emotional battle? Is Diane finally safe, or is another trap waiting for her? Can Billy control his anger before he destroys everything around him? The answers are still unfolding, and the drama in Genoa City is far from over. Thank you for watching today's Y&R CBS Daily Update. If you enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to subscribe, like the video, and turn on notifications so you never miss another update. Share your predictions in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.